Okay, so now we're going to move on to looking at different ways that you can get data into your map. We're going to start off with layers that are already available in the web environment. So I want to make a map that highlights some of the summits or peaks within the state of West Virginia. So I'm going to start off by just adding in some layers that we can use as kind of base layers or for visualization from either data that's already online or could be used as like a base map. Okay, so I don't want to use this map, so I'm going to start with a new map. So I'm going to go to the save and open. Again, this map I'm not really using, but I can click save here if I want to save changes. Once those changes are saved, that blue dot should go away. Now I'm going to do new map, and this should open up a new map viewer with no layers in it. And what I'd like to do is first off, save it. So I'm going to do a save as here, and we're going to call this summit map. And I'm going to save that into that new video folder that I made, so new ArcGIS Online videos. And we'll do West Virginia, or WV, West Virginia, summits. And I'll just put West Virginia view in there as a tag. And I'll just put a quick little summary. We'll say map showing major summits in West Virginia. Save. Okay, so now that's saved, and it should have saved into my content. When we're done here, we'll spend some time looking at that folder and all the different content that's going to get added to it. Okay, so now what I want to do is add some layers that are already available on the web, right? Okay, so let's first off go into the browse layers. So first off, if you've already published data into your web map, then you should be able to add layers from that are they've already created that are already published, right? So for example, I have this layer down here that is the boundary of the Mon National Forest, and I'm going to add that to this map because some of the higher peaks in the state occur within the Mon National Forest. So it'd be nice to have that boundary included. So if I click add here, it'll add that data in. There we go. Actually, these are several layers that are all added in as one package. This is actually kind of a good example of just kind of a side note. So if we go in here to layers, you can see I added all these layers. And let's say that I didn't want them to be grouped. They're all together initially because they were already grouped. Now what I can do is do ungroup, and that breaks them out so now that they're all separate. And then let's say that I only really want the boundary. Well, to do that, then all I have to do is just remove all the layers that I don't want from the list here. So remove that, move. These are ranger districts, and we want to get rid of these. Remove. All right, there we go. So there's just the boundary. So I made some changes. I'm just going to save this real quick. So there's our boundary. We'll go back to that, do some cleanup and stuff later. So that's an example of adding a layer from your content that's already been loaded in. Next, let's look at adding content from your organization. So you can see by default here, it's set to my content. Now, if I wanted to change it to something else, I could do that. So I can change it to, for example, to my groups, which are groups that I'm involved in or associated with. My organization, which would be things published by people in my organization and shared with at least my organization. Layers shared via the Living Atlas, and layers shared via ArcGIS Online. So I'm going to click here on the Living Atlas, and let's just do a search for, let's see, physiographic. Let's see here. These are landforms. Thought I'd find that. These is probably, let's just try landforms. See it comes up. We may not actually need, let's do this. Let's see what this looks like. So this is a layer of different types of landforms at a kind of a broad scale, right? I'm not going to actually keep this in here. I just wanted to make a point. So this is a layer from the Living Atlas that's available. So let's say I didn't want to actually include that layer, then I can go in here and do remove, right? We'll get rid of that for now. So the point is, if you go to add data here, browse layers, everything in here are things that are already on the web. So your data that's on ArcGIS Online, data in your organization, data in your groups within your organization that you're involved in, or things that have been shared with everyone or publicly through ArcGIS Online, or shared via Esri through the Living Atlas. Okay, so that's one option. Another option is that we can add data from a URL. So this is generally like a service or something. And there's lots of different services that you can add. So data can be added from a lot of different types of services. So for example, you could add data from like a web map service, or a web map tile service, or a web feature service using the open standards, or an Esri based service, for example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a hillshade for the state from the West Virginia GIS Tech Center. So I'm going to search for West Virginia GIS Tech Center Data Services and find the layer here that I'm interested in. So I'm going to go down here to elevation rasters. I want this hillshade, and we're going to do link, and this takes you to the rest page, and if I grab this, that should link to that layer. So let me go in here, oops. Let me go back here, and we're going to do browse URL, and we can just drop this in. Note that one thing you could do is you could do use as base map. We're not going to do that in this case, but that would actually use this as the base map layer as opposed to like one of the operational layers. And I believe that works. So let's hit add to map and see what happens. All right, there we go. So this is a hillshade, a high-res 1 meter resolution hillshade for the entire state that was published out as a raster tile service. So good bit of detail there. You can see that that got added over top. So let me go back here to layers, and if we want, we can just move these around. So I'm just going to move the proclamation, the Mon Forest boundary back up to the top there. All right, so these are examples of adding data from the web that have already been published, right? So that was browse layers and add layers from URL. So what we're going to do next is look at adding, uploading data or new data into your content that you could then add to a map.